What is this life if full of care we have no time to stand and stare? No time to stand beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep and cows. No time to see when woods we pass, where squirrels hide their nuts in grass. No time to see in broad daylight streams full of stars like skies at night. No time to turn at beauty's glance and watch her feet, how they can dance. No time to wait till her mouth can enrich that smile her eyes began. A poor life this, if full of care we have no time to stand and stare. And so we come to the second of Stop and Stare. I'm sorry, but I haven't time. These words have been spoken again and again. Ask to lend a hand, attend a meeting, support a project. We'll all have trotted them out as an excuse, with varying degrees of honesty. It may be, of course, that we are genuinely busy. Our life a never-ending sequence of chasing schedules, meeting deadlines, rushing from one frenetic activity to the next. Equally, we may simply be busy doing our own thing, watching TV or socialising. In other words, we have plenty of time to give if we really want to give it. Time, in fact, is more complex than we sometimes realise. Scientists have proven that our perception of how fast it goes varies according to what we're doing. Some moments seem to flash by, while others drag by interminably. And paradoxically, the more we try to save time, the faster it can appear to go, until we truly come to believe we haven't a moment to spare. Let's focus here on two reasons for that in particular. First, it's all too easy to allow rushing around to become a habit. We don't mean to do it, nor realise it's happening. But when we've a lot on our plate, the temptation is to keep on doing that little bit extra. Working first one evening, then the next, then perhaps a weekend, and so on. Before we know it, we've eaten into our leisure time, time when we used to relax and unwind. As a result, it becomes even harder to switch off, and we end up feeling physically and emotionally drained. Life, if we're not careful, passes us by, for we find it increasingly difficult to look outside the world of what needs doing next. Second, as the years pass, we can become increasingly conscious of the clock ticking by in terms of our span of life. It dawns on us that we're not as young as we used to be, and whereas the future once seemed to stretch out indefinitely, suddenly it appears all too short. The time left to fulfil our dreams far less than we thought. We still have much we want to see and do, but not enough time in which to do it. So, once again, we try to pack ever more into the unforgiving moment, convinced that we cannot afford to waste a single one. Instead of being a friend, time becomes our enemy, yet, try as we might, there's no way of countering its steady march or of turning back the clock. How then are we to counter these destructive ways of approaching time? First, we need to take life at a gentler pace, instead of rushing around chasing our tails. Yes, there are things to do, problems to solve, and responsibilities to fulfill, but we can't tackle everything at once, no matter how hard we try. That job you're preoccupied with, is it so important it can't wait? That television programme on tonight, does it really matter if you miss it? That schedule you've set yourself, does it need to be quite so tight? On the same lines, and as with our cares, we need to take life one day at a time and enjoy the given moment. So often we fret about what may happen but never does, failing to enjoy the here and now through brooding about what's to come. Yet can we ever change the future by worrying about it? Not according to Jesus. Which of you by worrying, he asks in Matthew 6:27, can add 1 cubit to your stature? Far from helping us, it will hinder. Fears about the future, destroying happiness in the present. Tomorrow will come soon enough, and when it does, there will be time enough to deal with whatever it brings. But until then, enjoy each moment while you have it, and live it to the full. What, though, about advancing years? How do we deal with the uncomfortable reality? Excuse me. For the Christian, faith brings a new perspective. This earthly life does seem not as the totality of our experience, but merely as a foretaste of things to come. One small step of our journey into God's eternity. The joys we know now are as nothing compared to those yet to come. Any fulfillment this world might bring forward being dwarfed in relation to that which God holds in store. Death, in other words, is not the end of the story, but the start of a new chapter, and in consequence the passage of time should be seen in terms of a promise rather than a threat, as bringing us closer to our true and ultimate destiny in God's new creation. Yet faith does not simply rest on future hope. It touches also the present moment. Whatever our stage of life, God is able to transform the here and now. Of course, we will sometimes remember the past with a tinge of regret, or look to the future with a degree of anxiety. But his peace, love, strength and joy can shape every moment, if only we are open to his presence. The key is sorting out our priorities, putting God first and self second. Make time for him, and we may find we have more time than we realized. Amen.